All right, Nuggets fans, welcome into Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by our good friends here at Mile High Sports. I am your host, Ryan Blackburn at NBA Blackburn on Twitter, a part of the Mile High Sports Podcast Network, and very excited to be here talking about the Denver Nuggets. They won Game 7 last night. Final score 120-101, but it certainly was not that close. What a win. What an opportunity for Denver. Thought that things were going to go a different way heading into that one, especially when I saw the Clippers fans that were peppering the Nuggets section. It was still very cool to hear Ball Arena just drown them out over the course of the game as the Nuggets kept getting momentum and kept doing the thing. It was perfect. A great job by the Nuggets capitalizing on momentum. We're going to talk about the game. We're going to talk about different players that really stepped up in this one. I'll have some just brief thoughts on Nikola Jokic not playing his best game, but just in general, this is what the playoffs and team basketball are supposed to be about. This is how it's supposed to go. And I'm very excited for the Nuggets being able to kind of show that, being able to really elevate themselves and show, hey, we are more than just one player. We are a full team, and nobody is happier about that than Nikola Jokic, let me tell you that. We'll get into it all. We will talk about a variety of different things. First and foremost, want to give a shout out to number 38 and everybody that was down at number 38 yesterday. Heard that over 1,100 people were in and around the building and like on the patio outside. It really was a fantastic environment. You've got 2 Game 7s going on. Apologies to Avalanche fans, of course, just a heartbreaking way to go out. But the environment between those 2 games, being out on the patio, being in the building for this, it was wild. And I heard a lot of stories from folks and just how crazy it was. Some of the pictures, some of the videos are crazy at number 38. So if you are on the fence about going somewhere to go hang out for a game, that's a great opportunity. That's a great place to go, especially Game 1 tomorrow night, where the Nuggets have the shortest turnaround possible against the Oklahoma City Thunder. So make sure to go check out number 38 when you can. All right. Appreciate all the folks hopping in. Ala Chilena says, salute Ryan. Stefan says, Ryan Chartburn is back to make my workout way more tolerable. Appreciate it. Always doing my best on these interwebs. Cedric here says, great game, Ryan. Nice seeing you in a blazer. Did my best. I thought, hey, here's what I told people. For those that worked, for those that didn't see, I was in a blazer last night at the game. It's the second time I've ever worn that blazer before because I'm a big guy. I like to be comfortable. And I just thought, you know what, let's dress up. This could be the last game of the season. And that's what I told people when I was wearing it. But it is funny. Everybody noticed. It was like clearly I have not been dressing up myself enough well at these games that everybody was noticing how I was dressed. But it was nice. It was a good show. Okay. Done enough wishy-washy stuff. Let's talk about the game. Let's talk about this Nuggets game. Way different, and I put this here, way different than I expected. Based off of the vibes that we had going into the arena, based off of everything that was about this series, I did not expect another blowout to occur. You had a blowout in games 3, 5, and now 7. I didn't really expect that to happen, but maybe I should have. Like the alternating blowout days. There were close games in 1, 2, 4, and 6. But Denver just weathered the storm for the first quarter. They were down 5 at the end of the first quarter. Guys were not necessarily playing well, but they were staying attached. And then the non-Jokic minutes come up at the beginning of the second quarter. Denver goes with a lineup that includes Murray, Westbrook, Peyton Watson, Michael Porter, and Aaron Gordon. They don't go with DeAndre Jordan initially. They go with the small ball lineup. The Clippers go with their own small ball lineup. And Denver thrived. Denver thrived in that look. It was the first time really all playoffs that they have found success against the Clippers going to that look. And a lot of it was just defense and run. And a lot of it was just like, hey, we're gonna make the open shots that are generated. Uh, Michael Porter played pretty well in that stretch, but really the two names that deserve the most credit in that stretch, I think, were Russell Westbrook and Peyton Watson. I thought that those guys showed up to play, whether it was shooting, whether it was defense, whether it was athleticism and impact. Like those guys were the two that when they came in off the bench, Denver played a 7.5 man rotation last night because they played 7 in the first half and then DeAndre Jordan played due to foul trouble in the second half. But it was a really impressive performance from the two guys that came off the bench, and Russell Westbrook and Peyton Watson. Didn't get to talk about him enough on Locked On last night, but I thought that Peyton had a fantastic game overall. But really, this was Russell Westbrook's game. We'll talk about him first. 16 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 steals. Like, don't even have to go over any shooting splits. 5 steals is crazy. And the fact that he has been as productive as he has, Russell Westbrook, has been great. 5 of 9 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3, 4 of 6 from the free throw line, shooting with confidence on the perimeter. But the ones that were the backbreakers for the Clippers were the pick sixes. They were the ones where he's stealing the ball from the weak side, and the Clippers just had no idea that he was coming. And then there was no transition resistance. Like he just had a wide open lane on multiple occasions. And in those moments, he just took the Clippers' heart. And it's exactly like, I don't know how Russ fans specifically feel about the comparison to Bruce Brown. It's the prism with which Nuggets fans value his impact and the way that he can come off the bench and provide energy and versatility. And like he's obviously had a much higher peak in his career than what Bruce Brown has had. But for that 1 year, Bruce Brown was truly incredibly impactful in terms of shifting the momentum, doing a variety of different things. And whatever the situation called for at that time, Bruce was able to provide. Russ, frankly, has been better statistically in these playoffs than Bruce was then. And the number of times that he has made impact plays in this series, and now to get Denver out of this series, has been truly impressive. I want to give Russ so much credit. Did not have a good end to the season. He was hurt. He was in and out of the lineup, trying to figure out whether he was going to be a starter, a bench guy, things like that. Ultimately, Denver made the decision, and he also, by the way, it wasn't just Denver, it was him as well, made the decision. He's just going to come off the bench. He's just going to be the guy that they rely on to bring energy off the bench because that's the role he's going to play in the playoffs. And it took him a while, took him a little bit, took the Nuggets a little bit, but he's now thriving in that role. Shooting 42% from 3, like making a whole bunch of defensive plays, finding energy, hitting these and ones. Some of these and ones are really, really impressive. And just the ability to have somebody to come off the bench and provide that level of energy and intensity, that changed the series for Denver. And they knew that they needed that. They knew that this was going to be a thing. I knew this was going to be something that they needed from him. I didn't know whether he was going to do it. And I'm so glad that he has. Like, for him specifically, like, this is a great moment. Watching him at that presser yesterday was unbelievable. He was having so much fun up there, which that's awesome. That's so great. In these situations, he's had so many, like, uncomfortable situations that have happened to him, uncomfortable like things that have been placed upon him, despite the fact that he shouldn't be the guy that bears that. But now he gets to be the guy that like was the reason why Denver won in a major way. Like he wasn't the only reason, like he was still the sixth man. And I think everybody needs to keep that in perspective, of course. but it was still extremely valuable what he did. And I'm glad for him. I really am. Um, Aaron Gordon, actually, no, let's Peyton Watson first here. He also came off the bench and just did exactly what the Nuggets needed for him. A steal, a block, 4 rebounds, 4 from the field, 1 of 1 from 3. Again, like in game 6 he did this, and in game 7 he did this. Just hit a huge corner 3 right when the Nuggets needed it, right in front of the Clipper bench. Just kind of a wild play to make in that situation in a game 7, but Peyton Watson just might be built for this. And some of the plays that he was making, some of the ways he was attacking were really impressive as well. And it's one of the reasons why I was so like, hey, you need to play Peyton Watson. You need to get him ready for this moment. And it was just so odd that he hadn't been really playing much up until that point. Now you get to see what he can do, and he's just somebody that you can trust in this small ball situation. So Russ is going to be massively important in the next series. Peyton Watson's going to be massively important in the next series. Like, these guys are going to be crucial for what the Nuggets need. So curious to see how Denver continues to handle it. But overall, like, A+ effort from the Nuggets bench in game 7. Like, really great stuff overall. Even DeAndre Jordan came in off the bench and made a couple plays, made a couple rebounds, did what he was supposed to do. Denver, the momentum really shifted for them in a positive way when they tapped into the bench. It's great stuff. Okay. 2 starters that we need to discuss as well. Aaron Gordon and Christian Braun. Aaron Gordon this series had a very tough assignment, whether he was on Kawhi Leonard, whether he was switching onto James Harden, whether he was defending Ivica Zubac at times. Like, he had a very tough assignment, but that is why Denver brought him in. It's the entire reason that they traded for him in 2021 was to be the primary assignment on Kawhi Leonard. And did Kawhi shoot efficiently? Yes. 22 points on 13 shots. It wasn't a big, like, game 7. It wasn't really about the shot making with Kawhi. It was about how much he was going to fight, how much he was going to impact the game physically, how much he was going to impose his will on the game. And Kawhi just did not do that. Aaron did that. He was bodying him on a consistent basis. He battled him at every turn. 22 points for Aaron Gordon on 9 of 16 from the field. And just a very, very impressive performance from AG. Glad to see him get that opportunity, of course. It's not always perfect. You're never gonna get everything, but just one of those performances that it's a great reminder. And Clippers fans, seeing a whole bunch of Clippers fans react to the series, they have a lot of respect for Aaron. They have a lot of respect for what he has done, for what he provides on a consistent basis. And that to me is a pretty good indicator of who actually contributed to winning in the series. Like, for me, one of my big takeaways from this series has been Nicholas Batum is just incredible as a helpful winning basketball player. And yet Nicholas Batum went 1 of 3 in this game. He did have 1 steal and 2 blocks, but I don't think it was necessarily about him that they ultimately lost the game. It was the fact that Kawhi Leonard took 13 total shots and James Harden went 2 of 8. Speaking of James Harden going 2 of 8, Christian Braun, holy cow, man, 21 points. Aaron was the team leader in 22. Christian had 21, 8 of 15 from the field for Christian, 3 of 5 from 3, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal. Just an incredible defensive game from him. Harden had 13 assists. Like, he did impact the game. People are going to, I think, breeze over that. But the fact that he was unable to impact the game from a scoring perspective, Denver turned him into a passer entirely, is one of the reasons why he gets the criticism that he does and deserves some of the criticism that he gets. Christian Braun helped turn him into a passer throughout this series. There were times where Christian didn't do the right thing in isolation. There were times where he was not, like, handling things perfectly. But over the course of this series, Christian got better and better as a defender. And seeing him play that well in a game seven and have as much shot making and cutting impact as he did was really, really impressive. Um, I think that's like that was the most confident I've ever seen Christian Braun from a shot making perspective, from a 3-point shooting perspective. That dude was taking threes and walking into them like Jamal does. You know when Jamal is he takes a shot and then walks into it because he knows he's hit it already and is like, this is casual for me. Christian was doing the same thing. And for Christian to be in that place and delivering on the game seven, like that is just that is tremendous stuff. So very impressed with him, very impressed with the way that he handled this situation and just being able to stick with it and show exactly what he needed to do. Just very, very like that's going to be one of those games, I think, that defines Christian as a starter and gives him the confidence going forward and something that he can look back upon and say, look, I can play at a high level in a playoff environment. It's not always going to be perfect. He's not always going to take a whole bunch of shots. He's not always going to make a whole, like, he's not going to make everything. But he is in a position now where, as Denver continues to evolve and change who they are in small ways, not big ways, Christian can be somebody that takes on more and more responsibility as he gets more and more comfortable. I feel pretty reasonable saying that at this point. He's going to be great. Okay. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Jokic, Murray, and Porter. We're going to do takeaways from this series, and then we're going to do initial thoughts on the Oklahoma City Thunder. We will be right back here on Pickaxe and Roll. All right, we're back. Pickaxe and Roll, Ryan Blackburn here. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Would really, really appreciate it. This was a great series, and it should there have been a couple blowouts, of course. Games 3, 5, and 7 have been blowouts, and so this one, of course, like Game 7, is going to dull, I think, how people feel about this series. But heading into this game, I was talking with a couple of Nuggets folks, a couple of Nuggets reporters. It was one of those ones that you would remember as one of the best playoff series of the 2020s. Now that this happened and this blowout happened, it'll feel a little bit differently to some people because you want those games to go 7. You want those games to go down to the wire. I know Nuggets fans are perfectly happy with this outcome, that's for sure. But this is one of those series that before, I think people were going to highlight this as one of the best playoff series from an even perspective, from how even it was. Yeah. Let's talk about Jokic. Actually, no, let's talk about Porter first. We're going to go positive. The fact that Porter's playing, as we have continued to say, is very, very impressive. He deserves a ton of credit. And in this game, he just let it fly from 3. And I was very glad that he did that. 3 of 8 from 3, people are not going to fully appreciate just how valuable that is. The Clippers had to react like crazy to get out to Michael Porter. 3 of 8 from 3 is a big deal. And in a series where there are very few possessions, although the pace was pretty high in this one in comparison to Game 6, like the pace was about 99, where the pace, like in Game 6, it was 89. So there were 10 extra possessions. Very fast for a Game 7. And that was obviously because Denver forcing the turnovers clearly sped up the Clippers in a lot of ways. But Denver, in general, needed the spacing. They needed somebody that the Clippers were going to have to respect on that side of things. Russ, for as much as he's making the shots, it's not often that the Clippers are just like sprinting out to try to go contest his threes. With Mike, it's a 5 alarm fire every time he gets a wide open shot. And there were a couple of moments in this game, including the big 3-pointer that took it from, I think, 70 to 50 to 73 to 50, where Jokic kind of lobs a ball over there. And I'm just like watching that play unfold. I'm watching the Clippers just hang their head because when Michael Porter got that ball wide open, everybody in the building knew that was going down. And the fact that he can have that level of shot making and the level of belief there, that is really, really important. Denver's going to need that. And it's pretty clear that Denver has absolutely needed somebody to space, somebody to give some breathing room to what Jokic is doing, to what Murray is doing, to what Aaron is doing. It allows for the cuts. It allows for the interior scoring. There's so much that Denver needs from Michael Porter. And he held up reasonably well defensively. He did his job. He grabbed 6 rebounds. It was tied for the most that he's had since that Game 2 outburst with 15. Just a really impressive performance once again from Michael Porter. The shot making is really, really important. And sometimes you just need a guy who's going to let it fly without any abandon. And it was nice to see him not hesitate in any of these situations. Also, he dunked with like curling around a screen and drove the lane and got up for one. It was nice to see. Jokic and Murray. Murray ultimately found some level of like consistency later in the second half. He was making some pretty impressive shots. The fall away that he had, turning around and fading away from 2 defenders, falling to the floor and still making it. Very impressive shot. Deserves credit for hitting those, of course. Only 7 of 15 in this game, 16 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. He wasn't the reason why they won this game, Murray was. But he was playing a whole heck of a lot of minutes. Still played 42 minutes in a game that the Nuggets were leading for the vast majority. So credit to him for stepping up from a playmaking perspective. Jokic, he's kind of the only one that, like, you could say really played below his expectation and what you would expect from him in this moment. I think everybody and their mother thought that Jokic was just going to go 30, 20, 10 or close to it in this Game 7 and really try to amp up the pressure. Defensively, he was fantastic. I want to make sure to throw that out there. The Clippers scored 101. There were a couple, like they scored 27 points, or no, they scored 35 points in the final frame. That means they only had 66 points in the first 3 quarters, and Jokic was out there for the vast majority of that. I want to make that clear, just so we're on the same page, Jokic fans. His offense wasn't good, and with the turnovers, with just the amounts of disruption that he had, it like the stat line ultimately looks fine. 16 points on 14 shots is not that crazy. He didn't have any offensive rebounds. He was like, from a playmaking perspective, he got some easy cuts based off of some things that the other guys were doing. But like, that's why the team exists, you know? That's why the team exists, so that they can pick up the best player who had been carrying them for the entire year. Like, and that's really what's happened. Jokic is carried for so long. And clearly he is tired. Clearly Ivica Zubac and the Clippers have affected him in some ways. And that's okay. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect the entire time, and expecting him to be perfect the entire time would be ridiculous. I think that some of the decision-making that he made in the first quarter and first and second quarter, like one of the times he tried to post up Chris Dunn and just lost the ball multiple times. There were a couple of times where he just couldn't really hang on to the ball. It was very weird. It was very awkward. Short on a lot of his shots. I'm sure that the elbow and the wrist injury are probably both impacting him as well. And I don't want to have that be lost entirely. And yet you have to grade on like him being out there, him being consistent. He had been so great for the entire season, even with wrist issues, even with elbow issues, it is important, I think, to grade him on the curve of being the best player in the world. And he wasn't perfect. He wasn't even remotely close to what his peak performance is. And that should be encouraging for Nuggets fans, that even though he wasn't at his best, the Nuggets still stepped up around him and still helped him out in so many different ways. So credit to him, and also credit to him for playing defense even through that. He was tremendous on that end of the floor. I want to make that clear. A couple times that he missed the ball, a couple times that he probably needed to get a rebound, things like that. But overall, I thought that he really figured some stuff out in some good ways. Yeah, gonna be very interesting to see how Denver handles this going forward with OKC, and whether this is going to be an easier or harder series for Jokic individually. The Clippers, with Zubac and his big body, with the length and athleticism of the Clippers front line, got a whole bunch of guys that are just bigger than the Thunder have. Like Jalen Williams, for as great of a defender as he is only like 6'6", 6'7", versus Kawhi being 6'8". Nicholas Batum is like 6'8", 6'9". He's very lengthy. He's very like impactful on that end. Chet Holmgren is obviously a great defender. Like there's no differentiating. Like the Clippers are a great defense. The Thunder have been a historic defense in a lot of different ways. It's going to be very interesting to see how they handle it. All right, you are getting a timeout. So that was the series. Like my big takeaways from this series were that, and I need to put this out there so that everybody hears it. The expectations at the beginning of the season were championship. I think they still are championship. And the fact they're probably not going to win a championship, like they're probably going to lose in this next series. If they win, like holy crap, then we're going to have some very interesting conversations, to be clear. But right now, I don't think that they're going to advance. OKC is fantastic. It's probably their year. They won 68 games. Denver's gassed. They're playing tomorrow. Like it's going to be very difficult. But despite that, I think you can call what Denver just did a success, given how many people pick the Clippers. Gosh, the ESPN graphic gets me every time because everybody buys into the Clippers. Everybody buys into who they are and sort of minimizes who the Nuggets are. And I know that the Nuggets were dealing with a coach firing and a GM firing at that time. But like, it was pretty clear to me at the beginning, like I picked Nuggets in 6. That's why I was disappointed with the way that they handled some of the stuff in this series, because I just thought that they should be better, despite the fact that the Clippers are a pretty good team. Like Denver has done a lot of good things. And the fact that they have accomplished it, the fact that they won in the manner that they did in Game 7, they didn't let it get to a close kind of clutch contested situation. Like, why should they? Why should they allow that? It was great to see Denver capitalize on that and really just show that they are resilient and tougher and more mentally like capable to handle this pressure in this moment than the Clippers clearly were. That deserves credit. That deserves praise. And I'm going to give it to them. I had expectations at the beginning of the season for a championship. It's probably not going to be that. And yet, you can still have success even when you don't win a championship. It doesn't make it that much better. I'm not going to sit here and like say, oh yeah, the season is a success if they lose to the Thunder and like they lose in 6. Like that's not successful. But it's better than where they were. Like Denver was pretty clearly on the road to a first round exit had they not turned their season around following the firing of Michael Malone and Calvin Booth. And so the fact that they have turned this back into a situation where they're still alive at this point in the playoffs is something to celebrate. It is something to be proud of. Um, I don't know what the future has from here. Denver will probably still make changes in this offseason. They'll probably, like, whether it's Adelman that they keep, whether it's Ben Tenzer, who's the interim GM that they keep, whether they make some massive changes, whether they make some massive trades, I don't know. But what I do know is that for this group, for a group that won a championship back in 2023, they deserved at least one last opportunity here to try to make something happen. And at least in this first step in the process, they have accomplished that. They have shown that it was worth the idea. It was worth the possibility of buying into who they were, even if who they are is still a little bit more shaky than who they were 2 years ago. So credit to them for stepping up and just locking in. They absolutely needed to. Had they gone out sad, it would have been a pretty massive disappointment. They didn't go out sad. They made some massive plays, and it was so good to see, just to see some positivity. Because for much of this entire season, it has been, again, I've contributed to this. You guys listen to me, you know how negative I am all the time. It's not like I'm trying to be. It's just, this is the, like, just naturally kind of how I have felt about this entire situation. It has felt pretty grimy. It has felt pretty ugly at times. But now you can kind of put that to bed a little bit. Like, if Denver loses to a 68 win team, not really going to freak out about it, you know? I think it's pretty good to see. So, pretty good to see them capitalize on this. The Thunder are going to be very well rested. They're going to be an incredible energy team. One of the things that, okay, this guy's immediately back in here and deciding to troll. One of the things that the Thunder are going to do is they are going to try to turn over the Nuggets as much as possible. It's something that the Clippers tried to do. And if they are able to, if the Nuggets are able to avoid the turnovers from the Thunder, they have the size advantage at key positions. And I think they've got some level of defense. It's not going to be great. Like, the Thunder are going to have more success against them scoring wise than I think the Clippers did. But Denver's going to have some opportunities to win games as long as they can get the necessary energy to match the Thunder. I'm very curious to see whether they're going to be able to do it, because people are, like, if you remember, actually, you know what? Before that, we've got a super chat here. I want to get to this first from Christian Barber. Shout out, Christian. Appreciate you hopping in. I think the Nuggets are going to need to play slow ball with the half court offense, Spurs ball, and very precise. Save the energy. We can do this. I think that's a good point. Slow it down, lower possessions. That's one of the things that the Thunder did against the Grizzlies, especially early in that. Like, it's hard to overstate the fact that they won by like 50 in the first game and 29 in the second game, or whatever the margins were. Denver just needs to keep it close. They need to stay under control. I think they are more capable of doing that than the Grizzlies were, most certainly. But it'll be interesting to see how they handle it. They need to keep the turnovers under wraps. Jokic is going to have to be more precise. Murray's going to have to deal with that pressure and physicality better than he did. There were some pretty sloppy turnovers that both of those guys had in Game 7, though. So it's going to be interesting. Although I do want to make sure to credit this. In that Game 7, Denver committed three total turnovers outside of Jokic and Murray. Aaron had one late in the game. Russ had two late in the game. But throughout much of the first three quarters, Denver did not turn the ball over. So credit to them for staying within their means. And if the only guys that are going to turn it over are Jokic and Murray, then honestly, that's a pretty clean basketball game. So good on them. Maybe they could do that. But either way, thank you for the super chat, Christian. Appreciate it. If Denver is able to keep a clean sheet, because that's the thing that the Thunder do the most, they are going to run and they are going to force you to turn the ball over. If they can avoid that, then you could start having some conversations about, can Denver get into a series where they outshoot the Thunder in the half court? Jokic and Murray are, of course, capable of that. If Michael Porter can stay on the floor, then maybe he's capable of that too. Christian Braun is starting to gain some confidence. Aaron Gordon has been pretty good overall. Russell Westbrook shooting like a madman. So we'll see what happens. But I do think that now that Denver's out of this series, maybe there's a way for them to take that confidence into a series with a very tough team. There's very little pressure on Denver at this point. The only pressure is the exhaustion that they have. And that definitely exists. Like, I do not think Denver is winning tomorrow. I do not think it's going to be close tomorrow. But could Denver take game 2? Could they steal that one? If they do, then all they really need to do at that point is just get one of the next 2 in game 3 or 4. They don't even have to win both. They just have to get it to the 2-2 series heading into game 5. If they are able to do that, then you start to feel the pressure, I think, if you're the Thunder, because it just resets the series. Best 2 of 3. And so Denver needs a long series. They need to generate another long series. They need to be in a situation where the Thunder are thinking, oh, we kind of thought that they would roll over after playing a long series and they're still here. What happens if they win again? That's where they need to be. If you can avoid giving the Thunder a situation where they are just the boulder rolling downhill, and because they crushed Memphis, and though Memphis did figure some things out at the end, they couldn't win in the clutch. So can Denver do what they need to do to keep the series close? I don't know. Like, this is probably either going to be a Thunder in 4 or 5, or a longer series in which it's kind of a coin flip at that point. So we'll see. We will see what it looks like. I don't have an initial prediction yet. I'm going to talk tomorrow. We're going to be on pod once again. I am going to do a little bit more of a detailed preview for you guys tomorrow. I'm going to take some time today, just go out with some friends and go touch some grass because clearly I need it. But this has been a good experience. It's been a tough experience. We're going to keep working hard. Glad to be working hard because it means that you're still in it. That is going to do it, everybody, for this episode of Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by our good friends here at Mile High Sports. Thank you for the super chat from Christian. Thank you, everybody, for hopping in. Got a whole bunch of people in the chat. It's a bump in chat. Really appreciate the love and support on the podcast, folks. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button on the way out. I will talk to you guys tomorrow.